So coming up to the stage is an incredible woman. Her name is Teresa Collins, and she is a renowned psychic, teacher, and master energy healer. You and Karina have to get together later and talk about energy, because you guys do it beautifully in two different ways. So so not only has she performed, supported, worked with 6,000 clients, 6,000 sessions. But this is what I know about Teresa. She didn't tell me this, but the first time, so we became virtual friends. And then when we met in person, the first question she said to me, she goes, "So do you have a crystal in your pocket?" I was like, can't say anyone else has asked me that question today or ever. And I love crystals, but I'm like, no. So she gave me one, so I put it in my pocket. So if you ever meet Teresa, she may ask you if you've got a crystal in your pocket. So girl, I want to welcome you to the stage. You are a big life changer. So Teresa Collins, please welcome to the Stand Up, Show Up, Speak It Summit, and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, Deb. Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me. I hope I'm showing up as a pin. I can just see myself little. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm not going to talk about all the woo-woo and the crystals and the sage, but I am like surrounded in it. I'm in my Surrey studio and I have at my fingertips sage as we speak, and definitely appreciate that introduction. I just want to start with saying thank you for doing this, by the way. It is such a huge honor. I have soaked up so much information already today, and I can't believe this is only halfway through the first one. So I'm so excited to what's going on. I've like literally got goosebumps head to toe. Emily and I actually already had the chance of connecting. So I'm already getting an audit from her. You guys jump on that stuff. And some other amazing people who I see today as well. Yeah, so thank you for having me. And I wanted to talk about the power of fear today.
I know, because you know what? You support people walking through it. You've walked through it. And so the interesting thing that we had last conversation, I was like, oh, let's talk about that. Is the idea that fear could be a good thing,
Yeah. So yeah, fear is an amazing thing in my life, actually. Now let's super right off the bat clarify, I'm not talking about danger. If you're in danger, that's a totally different thing. Get the hell out, do something, respond. Don't be like, oh, this is so wonderful, I'm in danger. No. This is all about the fears that show up every day as entrepreneurs or not, that we have to tackle. And we're so good at like squishing them and shoving them down. And then they result in things like anxiety and alarms and tummy aches and IBS and MS and all the things. So I want to talk about those and how we can turn those from being a challenge in our life into a power in our life.
Well, continue. Do continue, because I think we all have related to being fearful of something. And like you said, we're not talking about the stuff that you need to, that isn't obvious. Sometimes we're fearful a little bit. Sometimes we're very fearful. I know I've talked to Brene Brown and Oprah a couple of days, in the mornings about this big project we're in. Like, when you say that fear is a good thing, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, used it as a motivator or what?
Yeah, yes and no. But honestly, when fear shows up in my life, it means it's going to be big. Oh my God, it's big. Like, I was pretty scared to say yes to you, dude. When you approached
my son get to call me dude.
I was like, okay, yes, Deb. Holy crap, what am I agreeing to?
Yeah.
So for me, fear shows me the places that are going to actually be super impactful. And I think this happens for a lot of us. But we shy away, we hide, we do all the things we've done before, right? So my new acronym for fear that I woke up the other day with was feel the emotion and release, right? So it's a little bit different than other ones you may have heard. But I think that's the biggest thing. Fear just wants to be felt. It wants to be like really acknowledged. Okay, why am I afraid? So when I looked into it, speaking with you, it's a new platform. It was a bigger way to be seen. I have this funny little thing that 1 in 10 people aren't going to like me. It's kind of a fact. And now you want me to go on and jump to thousands? That's a lot of people that are going to like me.
I love your transparency. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Right? But I had to look into it to find out why. Otherwise, I would have tucked tail and ran. Right? Or not shown up.
That's it. You know what? Like, sometimes when I always say the biggest paycheck comes from the biggest cliff. And when you say that, thank you for being like transparent and honest, because we all get asked to do things, or we all have inklings to do things. Like I was sharing with Angel yesterday, I'm like, okay, sure, I've had 7 companies, never done a summit before. I don't know. I got told by Gloria Allred that I should do it. So, but it doesn't mean that there wasn't fear. I think, I don't think that's part of I think it's part of the package, and you can't really get around it. And then what happens if people don't feel the fear and go through that? Like, that's what you're talking about. Those things manifest in your tummy or your, yeah.
Yeah. And then it shows back down to be dealt with in another way, because the universe loves you. I know it feels like it's picking on you sometimes, but it's going to give you another opportunity to stand up and show up. And you're going to have this opportunity again to either to look at it and understand why, or to tuck and run again. So this will keep happening in your life. It's one of those things. Oh my God, it keeps happening. It keeps happening until you look at it for real and figure out why. Now, the one thing I like to say to people is also look at when else you did this, because it's usually a pattern. And if you can go back and see the pattern, then you can see really what the underlying fear is. So if we think really deep, again, full vulnerability, in class, there's 30 kids, 1 out of 10 didn't like me. That was a fact. I was an empath. Unfortunately, I focused on that 1 in 10, right? That was my childhood experience. So then you get high school, there's a lot more people that are gonna like you, right? So I can look back at all these different places, not only that it occurred, but also that I overcame and that I was able to accomplish, right? So now I'm feeling into it. I understand where it came from. I can actually say, I love you. I did it. I release you.
Wow. It's like having a conversation with your fear.
Yes.
And tracking back where it comes from. And I think, whether people call it inner child work, being, having that ability to rise above and kind of see what you're doing, like self-observation. I call it self-observation. Like, you're like, okay, it might look like, but in here, I'm having a different experience than here or here. So,
yeah.
Okay. How did you get how did you work through that? Like,
I see you. I love you. I see you. I love you. There's only 2 things. There's love or fear. The fastest way to transform something is to love the hell out of it. Right? Now, do I love that it freaks me out? Kind of, because most of us measure success on doing stuff that scares us. So I'm going to feel pretty successful after this, right? It was really scary, but I did it anyway. So that's where my extra points of success are going to really come from. We already do this, though. It's interesting. So a lot of people have done shadow work. They've done the inner child, ego. They know this comes from a different place. This concept is just allowing fear to be not part of you, but also one of those archetypes, right? Where all it's doing is it's coming up to speak, to acknowledge, to get some attention, because it has something important to say. Right? This is an important thing. This is your next level of healing. So a lot of healers on here are doing amazing and they're upping their game. This shows you what your next up is. When you're afraid of something, that shows you the next piece you need to heal.
Okay. So there's a lot of, even people coming on for an International Women's Day to get filled up, even that we can catch ourselves up in. Some of the things that we hear or we tell ourselves that you could inject. I love that. I see you. I love you. Honestly, that could be a mantra on everyone's, bathroom mirror. And if you know me enough, you know that I write mantras like that in red lipstick sometimes when I really need to get it. But the things that we put in our way can even be things like, I'm just too busy. Or as women, other people first. I don't know what generation you grew up in, but it was like, you got a lot of praise when you put other people first.
Yeah.
Like you got your esteem bucket filled by putting other people first. Right. And so it's not so unusual to go, oh, I'd love to go do that. I'd love to go to the spa. Whenever someone says to me, I'm going to pamper myself, I'm like, it is your God-given right to go get a facial. It is your God-given right to go get a massage. You know what I mean? And then I tell them how many massages I've had. They're like, what? But it's almost like we're giving ourselves a treat when we actually do something for ourselves. That's interesting.
Yeah. Also, a lot of us are living in that past experience, that past story. You're right. When you did something for yourself before it was selfish, now other women are going, damn, God, why can't I find time to do that for me? Right. So, I mean, it was before about the judgment, about the opinions and the, you know, like, oh my God, she's got time to pamper herself, but not cook dinner for her children. I don't know any woman who actually feels that way right now. Dude, and if you're looking at me and telling me I don't have time to clean my house, no, you're right. I don't. I have somebody who does it for me. Right. So it's like getting into this time, this now. You're watching your grandparents' TV, you're believing in their beliefs, yet everything around the world has changed. Right. So we need to help this fear, this ego to come up and ascend with everything else that's changed in this world. It's not selfish, it's sacred self. Right. If you take care of your sacred self, that's the gem. If I take care of me, I can show up and show off and speak up, and I can manage this fear, and I can find the power in everything I do, in every challenge. If I don't, you know, I got nothing left. I got to go to bed at 8 o'clock.
I gotta go to bed at 8 o'clock. For some people, that would be the juice, right? For some people, it's like, oh, if I could only get to bed by 8 o'clock. I texted someone yesterday. I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, reading. I'm like, talk to you later. No. Okay. So share
Okay, so let's make it some solid
how
steps.
You get there. I mean, if you're listening to you and you're like, God, I want to be her, or I want to feel like her, I want to have the bravery like her. You know, we all crawled over some glass. What was yours a little bit, other than thinking that 9 out of 10, you know, 1 out of 10 people didn't like you, and that for some reason for you that really sat with you, right?
Yeah. What else am I scared of? Well, like, name it. If I don't do something once a week that scares me, I'm not doing my job.
Right.
To be honest, I've gotten to that point. It's like when you go to the gym, you first go to the gym, God, it sucks. Oh my God, it sucks. What am I doing? Why am I doing this to myself? But 2 weeks in, you're like, oh yeah, feel the burn, right? Same thing with fear. When you first see it, it's going to be tricky. You're going to need to start managing it. I thought of some steps we could do. Yeah. The first thing is ask yourself, what am I actually afraid of? Right? That's the biggest thing. Fear is so like floaty and fuzzy. We can't really like grab onto it. So we have to sink your teeth into it. I know everybody here has heard of the word journaling. It's new, right? It's a new concept. Journaling is my best way to create a little bit of separation from something and see it from a different perspective, right? So I'll write down the fear. Okay. And I'll write down the emotions to it. Like, I'm shaking, I'm worried, I'm, you know, okay. So we're writing this down. So as soon as I write it down, then I can move to the next stage. I can't see it when it's this close in my face, right? I can't even come close to it. That creates a little bit of separation. And then I'll ask myself, what actually am I afraid of? Well, you know, judgment, opinions, not being enough. These are all inside stories that this inner critic is screaming at us all the time. Imposter syndrome. Who the hell do you think you are? Who the hell do I think I am? I can show up 4 times. I didn't just commit to 1. No, I committed to 4. And the book. And if you haven't done that yet, guys, and it scares you, do it. It's so worth it.
We're going to put you right behind Teresa's page. You'll be like, I'm scared. I'm like, no.
My quote is be fearless, right? That is the thing. So, and look at the different times you felt like this before. So then you can start seeing patterns. We know once we see a pattern, then we can really tackle it, right? This is an amazing time to actually tackle our patterns. We've 1 for 3, by the way, means love.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Tap wire. Please explain. Tap wire.
Tackle your patterns.
Oh, tackle your patterns.
Tackle your patterns. So
tackle your patterns.
You can. So many of us are running on cycles, right? Where we are living in the same movie with different characters. We're playing that same role. We've been typecasted. So again, we want to see where we're playing this typecast. Where are we the same victim in our own story, to be fair?
Okay.
If you are, that's okay. You know what? Maybe you just need a little extra love. Maybe you just need a little extra support, right? Like, this is not a judgment on you. This is okay. This is big. This is scary, right? Maybe I do need to call in my girls. Maybe I do need to tell my husband this is kind of freaking me out. Who looks at me and goes, everything scares you, swear to.
So I'm hearing journaling, getting some perspective when fear comes up. I'm hearing love on yourself anyways, like love on yourself, love on yourself. I'm hearing you talk to when you say, talk to your girls, talk to the people that, like that no circle, the ones that can reflect back to you. But and also a little bit of digging, like that question, does this feel familiar? Does it feel familiar? Yeah. Interesting.
And be okay to not be perfect. Like your words are just honey, baby. I love it, right? Like if I try to speak like you, yeah, right, whatever. But I can just put it out there and you can help it and you can grab it, right? So when I go talk to somebody and maybe I don't know how to articulate it or say it or even tell them what I'm feeling, my inner circles are amazing. They're going to grab it and they're going to say, oh, do you mean this? Do you mean that? So when we show up that way and allow ourselves to be vulnerable, it's pretty amazing.
I think being vulnerable it is a tool. I think that people need to see it as a tool, right? People need to see it as a tool and an access and a key, at least with your people, at least with yourself.
Yeah.
And then
if you don't have people, do it yourself. You're absolutely right, Deb. Yeah. Not all of us have that support group yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's doing?
Well, the wrap it up is give yourself permission to release it. Give yourself permission to say, you know what? I see you. I love you. It's gone. We have this beautiful way of telling other people what to do. And we forget to tell ourselves and listen to our own advice. So this is a wonderful time to lean in and say, well, what would I tell a friend if she was saying this? Well, you're amazing and you can do this. Okay, maybe I'm amazing and I can do this. Maybe I'm amazing. Oh, I am amazing. I can do. Oh, I'm amazing and I can do this. And you keep saying it until you get to that solid place in your heart where you believe your own words. My goodness.
Right. Wow. I'm gonna throw it over to Angel a little bit. We've got a couple of minutes left, and obviously we're doing interview style with Teresa and Angel. I'm seeing your I always see because they start to smile here. She starts to kind of smile here, and I watch for that smile. Can you relate at all anything to what Teresa's saying? Like, totally. do you have fear? Do you walk people through fear?
Totally, right? These are these stories that we tell ourselves, and we just get ourselves in these little patterns, right? And then we can't break free of. And then you talk to somebody and they we think we are fooling people, right? Like we think we're like, I got this, I got the mask and nobody knows. And we're only fooling ourselves. And so like, just wear it, right? Just be it and just wear it. And because then your tribe can come around and support you and tell you me too. And now we can move on. And I think the more that we try to hide behind it, we're just being silly, right? Like we're totally just being silly. What do you think?
Yeah, and then it turns into anxiety, which is your body's alarm system to tell you really pay attention to me. And that's why we have like this epic of people who are facing anxiety all the time, because their alarm systems are going off nonstop. And they think, oh, no, it's just anxiety. Oh, it's just stress. But really, this is an emotion underneath that's telling you something needs to be addressed. Something needs to be looked at. One of the things you said with the can't, I tell my clients to add the word yet, right? Can't is a fear word. I can't do that. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it yet. Yes. Okay, I can't do it yet. Right. And then once we start adding that yet, it becomes a little bit more manageable. It's bite size. There's a possibility.
Right? Yeah. We don't have to swing super far, right? Just a little bit and interrupt that pattern, right? Interrupt that fear. So this is
thank you. So you invited me to tell my favorite joke.
Oh.
Did I?
Kind of like a joke, so you're all ready.
Yeah, ready.
So the joke is, how do you eat an elephant?
Well, we've all heard one bite at a time, right?
Yeah, baby. That's how you tackle fear. That's just one bite at a time, one step at a time, one moment at a time, one feeling at a time.
Right. I think that just being here today, like there's 53 of us on here right this moment, right? And who knows how many are watching it on the live stream or going to catch it later. But every one of us can relate to it. Like we all come in like all like Superwoman, right? Got our Superwoman pose, right? Our mask on. We've kind of got this. We're doing all the checklists. Like we just followed Emily and we're like, okay, I know what to do. I know how to create. But we all have a something. Mm-hmm. And like, this is just a safe place to come in and go, right, Teresa nailed it.
Aw, thank you, babe.
It's just math, right? Like whatever your fear is, there's like a mathematical equation to it. And when you're like, okay, like 2 out of 3 times I'm going to be this, or 1 out of 10 people isn't going to like whatever your thing is, like, it's just math and it is just what it is. It takes all the emotion like out of the sails and just goes poof. I'm like, well, what was I so freaked out about?
Yeah. And then that celebration, you got to do it. You got to be super like proud of yourself that you overcame it. That's the action step at the end. Mm-hmm. Like celebrate that you even had the courage to look at it, to mm-hmm. not just tuck it down, just ignore it, distraction, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And then do something that scares yourself again. Even the thing is when you start intentionally doing something, you can pick smaller things. And then you get confidence every time you do something smaller. Mm-hmm. And then when the bigger things come up, you've got these muscles that you can lean into. And it's like pulling it in with Emily's stuff. It's so important to take action out of planting seeds of success, not fear, because we all know the law of attraction. If you plant something in fear, it doesn't matter how many times you want to be successful after, it's just going to keep attracting more bullshit. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I allowed to swear?
I think that sometimes like we do these, big heroic things, right? You punch the board or you walk on the colt, like you do this big heroic thing to prove to yourself you can do big things. But honestly, Teresa, it's these little things that I think we internalize and create just the daily action of doing something a little bit that scares us to prove to ourselves that I got this. Is I think it's more lasting. Like it makes that bigger imprint on our soul. Like, okay, all right.
And it also teaches ego. So part of the problem is ego is not necessarily ascended the way the rest of us is. So it's still pulling us back, still saying, sit in the cave. Oh, no, it was COVID. We all stayed home. No, what are you doing? No, that was good. We liked that. But we have to kind of teach ego that, no, wait, it's okay. It's safe. I appreciate that you feel the fear. We want to stay in the cave, but we need to come out now, right? It's time to ascend. It's time to evolve. It's time to move to that next level. And ego will, if you coax it out, right? Ego and fear are all kind of wrapped out. And it only takes 3 times to do something to feel comfortable.
3 times. Right? There's math again. There's her math. Only 3 times, right? It's all math.
Yeah. And if you really want to do the math, just count to 5 and just do it anyways. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Facebook Live.
Right? Isn't that the Mel Robbins, right? The launch, right? And just the countdown and there's like something so beautiful about numbers. I think we started the summit talking about numbers 262 and on some of our favorite numbers and different things that we're all seeing numbers. There's something so powerful in it, but it's also something that takes away the scary of it as well. Like just count and just go, and it's just here, and you're like, okay, here we go.
So full exposure. Honestly, in the beginning, I was not this comfortable. So I used to literally say to myself, okay, on your mark, get set, go. And I would just go, and I would like write, or I would manifest, or I would show up live, or I would, even that client that, I know is going to be a little bit tougher, right? Sometimes in hypnosis, I still get those flutters going, oh my God, what are we going to walk into now? So I have to do on your mark, get set, go. Okay, we're ready. So it doesn't matter what level you're at, you're still going to have this. So don't be thinking like, oh, I already dealt with this, or I thought I already managed that, or how come I have to heal that again? As you level up, you're going to get more levels to go with everything else. And that's the great thing. And that's where the success you can really lean into.
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it. Teresa, what are you giving away?
Yeah, what are you giving away?
What am I giving away? I am giving away a Change Your Life set, because I feel so awesomely confident in how I can connect with others, I feel like we can shift anything in 4 sessions. So not 10 years, not 15 years of therapy, 4 sessions. So it's an $888 value. It's a consistent, you see me every week for 4 weeks, and we kick the crap out of whatever fear you think is holding you back, whatever block, whatever nonsense, whatever inner child drama, whatever, anything that you think is not helping you show up in the way you want to in this world, we'll sort it.
All right. So thank you so much for that. And you know how this works. And if you've just joined us, I have to remind you, if you want to win, now look at, she's going to put her free gift. The one for everybody is in the chat, but this one is going to that one person who answers this question correctly. And that is for all the speakers coming. So you got to lean in and listen. You need to put your email address and then we will connect you to the speaker. So the one thing that I want you to put in the chat and your email address is if you have the glorious pleasure of meeting this woman live, she is going to walk up to you and she's going to ask you if you had something in your pocket. What is she going to ask you if you have in your pocket? And I know that, so you got to put it with your email address, and Dorothea is going to put you guys together. A big round of applause. Thank you so much for making us feel good about who we are, you know, love ourselves and all that good stuff, and ooey gooey, and take off, you know, brave up and take off the guard. And thank you so much. And thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being scared and doing it anyways, because that's what we do. And thank you so much for reminding us that anxiety can come from just being scared, right? Sometimes anxiety doesn't have to travel back to something big. It could just literally be that fear, could just be that something's really amazing around the corner. Perfect. And it's a little mini breakthrough. It's a little mini breakthrough. So thank you so much, girlfriend. We will see you again. Of course.
Perfect. Thank you for all you did and all the amazing behind the scenes, Angel, Emily, all the ones that made this happen. I'm so looking forward to the afternoon.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.